had all of his addresses and that he'd ever lived at, every phone number he'd ever had, all this other information. It was like an FBI file, like the Rockford files.
It was rather weird how many people had all of this information, including his real estate listings. And some people sent that in. I mean, it is weird that he got this information.
Well, but the people wanted us to get together. They wanted to bring us together. But it became me because I cannot be around Vince. And I'm hoping that his house being on the market for sale is not. Same time as him, and during that period of time worked for the same company for 3 years and actually sat in those meetings, which he must have been filled with terror. And having to go and get this order and have it filed and everything. And I hope that while he was down there that nobody thought that he was the victim of some kind of domestic abuse, because that would just be demeaning, and I feel bad about putting him through that.
All of this is happening pretty quickly. I mean, we're again on the air 16 hours after you were served with these papers. I think it's important to kind of look at this time frame right here. Not the entire 18 years you were allegedly stalking this man, but let's specifically look at this short period of time, really since WrestleMania, since Table for Three aired. Table for Three airs, you and Eric Bischoff bond over a mutual distaste for Vince Russo. It appears after that he takes great offense to that, calls you guys a bunch of names. I think he says things along the lines of you guys have no balls. You won't say anything to his face.
Well, now, I wasn't going to bring all this up, but go ahead.
The next thing, and again, my timeline may be slightly off. You go on the Jim Cornette Experience, your podcast, and you say, I will gladly meet you face to face, but it won't be on camera. It won't be something for podcast ratings or for profit. No weapons, no guns, no knives. Let's meet face to face. Give me a time and a day.
I didn't say no weapons. I did say no guns, no knives.
Okay, a minor correction there.
Yeah.
That was followed up by Vince Russo releasing a video which was shtick, for the lack of a better term. It was a comedy skit where in the midst of his shtick...
No, now don't just demean it like that. It was Jackie Mason level stuff. I mean, come on.
Well, in the midst of this, again, he calls you a bunch of names, and he really just laughs off any threat of violence from you. He laughs off any threat of you coming after him. He acts like he doesn't have a care in the world. You follow that with a very lighthearted segment on the Jim Cornette Experience.
Admitting defeat. Declaring him the winner.
You say that at some point you hope he gets what he has coming to him?
No, I said I had a gift.
You had a gift?
I had a gift for him, and I thought he deserved it, and I wanted to see him get what he deserved. And a lot of other people did too, but...
Since that period of time, he has not really said much about you. He has obviously had a little bit of a Twitter war with Bruce Pritchard out of nowhere, and then you get served with these papers. I have to say, it does remind me of something we talked about not too long ago on the show. Remember, there was a story where all of a sudden he started declaring that professional wrestling fans were gay. And it came out of an instance where he critiqued, I guess, the physique of Finn Balor, and a wrestling fan sent a picture of him and said, look, he's actually in great shape. And the response was, you're gay. And it's kind of the same thing here, where it's, everyone's a wimp, no one will say it to my face.
Now, Brian, we don't want to take that tone with poor little Vince, because it's obvious that he's upset, and we've caused him hurt and emotional pain, and we should be in the middle of trying to, as I'm saying, I'm not going to be doing any of these things anymore. We're trying to make up for this and apologize. We shouldn't attempt to dogpile on a guy when he's down in the middle of dog shit. That's an old saying we have down south. Do they have that up north?
Not exactly, but let me ask you this, Jim, because I've heard this said by several people, tweeted by several people, and in fact Dave Meltzer said it this morning on his radio show. Do you think there's any chance that this could be happening for publicity purposes for Vince Russo?
Maybe he's got Kellyanne Conway doing his publicity, because I don't see how it could be very much worse for. But I'm going to take it at its face value, and I'm just going to say once again, I feel bad, and that I've caused him such pain, and so I guess we should quit talking about each other so much, because I'm sure things will occasionally come up, but after this, well, it would look a little silly for him to keep on cutting promos on me on his show, after he did something like this. So that's going to take away the only thing that ever got him any attention, so I feel bad about that, but I'll do the same, and I'll lay off of him a little bit too, because, ever since me and Bischoff and Bruce Pritchard and actually Vince Russo's own words in his book from like 10 years ago, over the past several weeks have pretty much confirmed everything that everybody's had to say about Vince. There's not much new to debate over, and I can't debate him now anyway, face to face, or even, if I would contact him on Skype, that'd be illegal, because it would frighten him. So, like I said, the last thing on my conscience that I want is the thought of poor Vince sitting in his house and shivering and being afraid of me. I cannot have that. So I'm going to lighten up a little bit on the little fella. The principal's been called in, folks. This is not going to look good in the comments section on either of our report cards. And we found out that one batter was Major League and the other batter was Little League. So from now on, Brian, I think we should make it here on the show. We shouldn't ignore him, because that's the worst thing we can do to poor Vince, is ignore him, since he's always wanting people to talk about him. But we should only bring it up and talk about him, about the factual, stupid things that he says and does in public. And we should try not to say, I think, any more mean things that scare him. I just think that's the absolute least that I can do to make it up to Vince.
Well, how many hookers do you throw in a dumpster fire before it's too many? Maybe that's an expression we have in the North and not the South.
I've never heard that expression, but good God.
Well, let me ask you this before we wrap things up.
You're supposed to say it's burning like a dry barn in fucking hot weather or something like that. Not goddamn hookers in a dumpster. What the fuck?
Well, Chip, let me ask you this before we wrap things up. A couple questions. You said this is 9 pages. I would certainly like to give a read to this. It sounds like a lot of people would probably like to get their hands on this.
Actually, if you do listen to next week's Jim Cornette Experience, which would be debuting, dropping, as the kids say, on what would that be? Thursday the 29th?
Thursday the 29th.
We're probably going to have a pretty good idea of how to tell you exactly how to go to JimCornette.com and get your own personally autographed copy of this bad boy that I'm holding in front of my face right now.
Oh, okay.
I think because I want to make sure that everybody around the country knows that I am suitably chastened by the fine, legal, judicial system of the United States of America, that there was things I was saying that was making Vince Russo scared and feeling bad. And I'm going to keep this in front of me as a daily reminder of what I've done here. And not to do it again, of course, obviously.
In terms of the actual legalities here, I know according to the court website for the state of Indiana, it says that a protective order has been filed against you. It does not show yet that you've actually been served, but of course you had. But what is the next step? Is there anything you have to do? Is there anyone you have to consult with? Or now that you have this, is that it? You don't have to do anything?
According to everything that I can read here, unless I've committed sodomy with him or something like that, unless I've done some things that even he is not alleging I've done, I just pretty much have to stay away from the little fella and not harass him and bother him too much. So, and obviously, you know, I guess he's selling his house and moving farther away, so that'll be even easier to do. But I just wish we could have got together and it hadn't come to this. But I just, you know, just thought we were just bros doing podcasts, man. Just bros doing podcasts.
Well, there it is, the very first breaking news update here at tinyurl.com/cornyyoutube, the Arcadian Vanguard video channel. Of course, if there's anything else really big that happens, if Jim gets served the second or third time before next week's experience.
Hey, now what are you trying to bring ill on me or something?
We will bring it to you right here, but if not,
I'll be in the Anne Frank room at the castle.
We will give you any other updates to this story next week on the Jim Cornette Experience, which again comes out on Thursday, June 29th. Jim, any final words for the listeners?
Well, once again, I think everybody sees that what I've done here is laid bare my soul today and just admitted that I've just gone too far and hurt the little fella's feelings. And that's the last thing I would ever want to do. And like I said, I'm going to keep this document right here as a daily reminder of what I've done. I would say that I'll think about this incident and what I've done to Vince Russo probably every day for the rest of my life. I will carry that with me, and I don't know what else to say. I hate to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, but apparently we will. We're going to get him on the program, ladies and gentlemen. He's back out of the hospital, apparently 30-something pounds lighter. We're going to check on that, but from what I've heard, part of that was obviously them keeping an eye on him for a little while, and he still had, according to what I've heard through the grapevine, one of the night nurses running him kayfabe Snickers. But anyway, let's get Star Maker Ballin on the line.
Here he is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the program again after an absence of several weeks. He said he'd never be back. He was boycotting because Cord Bauer wouldn't follow him on Twitter. But this life or death situation has made him realize that there's some things more important than these petty arguments amongst people. Star Maker Ballin is back on the program. And Kenny, you have figured out that you've got to change your ways and you've got to turn over a new leaf. You've got to reform your life or you're not going to be here very much longer.
How are you, Jimmy? You doing all right?
Well, yeah, but more importantly, how you're the one that was at death's door. How are you doing?
Well, you're exactly right, and you bring up some good points there, Jim. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little low today. Trying to take care of myself. You brought up some good points. I did knocking on death's door. Hell, I was beating on death's door, man. It was a close call. And I hear it, as a matter of fact, he was even very, very concerned about me.
Well, I was, because I found out on Facebook that you were in the hospital, and I didn't even find out on Facebook since I don't know how to work Facebook.
Well, you had...
Stacy saw it on Facebook, and she calls me because I'm on the road, and I've got to be on the road in Tennessee at these Global Force shows. Wait a minute, without being able to get a hold of you. You left your cell phone somewhere, and the prince's phone was dead, and nobody was answering any phones, and we were all worried. Everybody was worried. This could be the big one.
Yeah.
And you left us hanging there, and then updates on Facebook. That was so. Anyway.
Well, you brought up some good points there.
And what is that? What is that beeping?
Oh, that is an experimental device that the good folks at Bad Disease sent me home with. That is a voltage proton 4 heart regulator, and it's hooked into a wireless device. I wear it on a strap on it clips to my belt, and I wear it on my back. And if my heart, as you know, my heart rate it ranged as low as 38, which is near death, and it went as high as 168, which is near death. So I was knocking on both sides of the
Oh,
door.
no, you were trying to get in at one way or the other.
Yeah, one way or the other. Yeah, absolutely, Jimmy. I mean, I'm a new guy, man. I mean,
Well, you know, you sound calmer. I've got
I am.
sound
I
calm.
am.
You're not on edge. You know me.
And
I'm tighter than a banjo string.
I
I'm
know,
pulling this
sir.
up. You're calm.
I'm gonna try and get you to my way of thinking here before it's all said and done.
What is you've got something else that's going on over there now?
Well, there are lots of calls, Jimmy. I got thousands of calls while I was in the hospital. I still get them. People wishing me good wishes, and I appreciate it. And I thought about this Court Bauer thing, man. And my fans are too valuable to me. I love my fans, and it ain't right for me to, you know. How many listeners do you have on this show, Jimmy?
Well, we've got a number. I don't know why this information. I don't trust you.
You have a large number, and it ain't
You've got a large number. It's quite.
It just ain't right. I mean, I have 5 of the 6 top. Look, they just won't quit. They just won't quit. And I'm telling you, man, it just wasn't fair to me to take my anger of Court Bauer and hold that against all my fans and everybody that loves me and wish me better health and to get, you know, back in there and back on your show. And
Kenny, it sounds like you've turned over a new leaf. I'm hearing a new man.
I have basically screwed